That being said, you pretty much ran down that list, and I appreciate that because that's all the people that are in attendance for this meeting tonight. We can move on forward with the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion that we approve the agenda as presented?
So moved. Liz Estrada.
Okay, and a second, please.
Tom Sidwell, second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Ms. Estrada?
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Sidwell?
Yes.
Mr. Streetman?
Yes.
Okay, motion carried.
Okay. Comments from the public. Margaret, my understanding is we have no comments from the public on tonight. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda? This is going to involve two meetings, a special meeting we had on June the 10th and a regular meeting we had on June the 15th.
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Okay. And a second, please.
Teresa Stevenson, second.
Okay. Roll call.
Mr. Sidwell?
Yes.
Mr. Streetman?
Yes.
Ms. Estrada?
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. Chairperson's report. I don't have anything to report tonight. So at this stage, we're going to hand this over to Dr. Bush.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, members of the executive staff, public. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you this evening. I have a few things I'd like to cover with you. I'd like to start with a particular item of good news. You'll get probably copies of this later, but it will appear on our website as required by accreditation. As of last Friday, I believe, July 16th, I believe was Friday, we received word from the Higher Learning Commission that after their last visit, they had identified 4 distinct deficiencies that needed to be met in order to have a what I'll call a clean accreditation. Had these deficiencies not been resolved, it could have led to greater sanctions placed upon the college. And the good news is we provided an in-depth response to the HLC. Ms. Gillard and I worked on that together, and I want to give Ms. Gillard a great deal of credit on that because she certainly worked on drafts, and we went back and forth on this. And we responded to the 4 areas of concern raised by the Higher Learning Commission. And as of last week, we received word. They went through all 4 of our responses, and we received the highest marking of approval from the Higher Learning Commission in all 4 categories, which means that we have a sparkling clean report with the Higher Learning Commission to this date, and we will not have any more mandatory reviews or reports to them until our next reaffirmation date, which is not scheduled till 24-25. So this is great news. We're set to be able to really make some positive moves over the next couple of years, and we've got the Higher Learning Commission right now taking care of that. So I'm really pleased to share that news with you tonight. We can all go home and put our heads on our pillows and rest and know that everything is good tonight based on that aspect of our accreditation. The second thing I'd like to bring to your attention, and I'd like just to put this on the record, so it's just a very short 2 paragraphs, but I received a letter, and I wanted to put it on the record in the public forum in particular because I think it really sort of echoes an important story for Tucumcari. And I received a letter on June the 21st from Dr. David Stratton. Dr. Stratton is Professor Emeritus of History at Washington State University in Pullman, Washington. Some of you may remember him. He also lives as well in Olympia, Washington, but I just simply want to read this letter briefly to you. It was addressed to me. Dear President Bush, I would like to congratulate you on your appointment as president at Mesa Lands College in my old hometown of Tucumcari. Although I have not lived there for many years, I have kept a close watch on its ups and downs, and am glad to see that Mesa Lands College at last has an experienced guided hand that will get it on the right track as a higher education institution. I was especially impressed by the statement in the Quade County Sun about your institution to implement the Complete College America plan, and I encourage you to stick to your guns in this doing so. After receiving a PhD at the University of Colorado in Boulder, I taught history for about 50 years at Baylor University and as much longer at Washington State University. Off and on for the past 20 years, I have done research on Tucumcari as a case study of the influence of transportation development in the West, mainly railroads and Route 66, as well as Interstate 40. This research is scheduled to be published in a book, Tucumcari Tonight, a story of railroads, Route 66, and the waning of a Western town in March 2022 by the University of New Mexico Press. Sincerely, David Stratton. I simply wanted to share that with you because I found it really exciting to hear about this book coming out by a former resident, and I felt that it was worth getting on the record and letting the people of Tucumcari know that that the book is coming out, and it sounds like it's going to be a wonderful addition to the community. So I wanted to bring that forward. I also just want to simply announce tonight the retirement of Dr. Aaron Kennedy, effective July 16th. And I want to simply go on the record this evening and encourage the board to congratulate and thank Dr. Kennedy for his many years of service, and best wishes to him in his retirement. Finally, I just want to mention a couple of other quick things here. As you all well know, I'm on bereavement leave in the East Coast. When they found out I was coming back here, I got a number of requests from colleges to make visits to build articulation agreements with Mesa Lands. They had heard about us. And in fact, not only that, but on Monday, I was asked to be the speaker at the Rotary Club in West Virginia to discuss Mesa Lands and our programs. So I had that opportunity while here on bereavement leave to do this. And but the good news that I'm wanting to share with you tonight is that of the colleges I've met, and I've still got a couple more before I leave this week, they are all building pathways for our students. So our students will be able to complete bachelor's degrees. We're looking at ways in which we share faculty and programs. And in many cases, they will be able, well, in nearly all the cases, they'll be able to complete their bachelor's degrees in Tucumcari at Mesa Lands. So in some cases, they may even employ some of our faculty as adjuncts to teach in their baccalaureate programs so that our faculty could work for them and our students don't have to leave. And they are, in every case I have dealt with, I have convinced them all to give our students in-state rates so they don't have to pay out-of-state rates to complete their degrees. So for the first time, and this comes up in my report as well, I've been on the road a little bit dealing with presidents. I'm pleased to announce that every technical degree that we now offer at Mesa Lands, if a student so chooses, they may complete a bachelor's degree with it. I built these pathways forward. So if they, for example, end up in a technical degree, we'll pick on Jim a second and say wind technology, and they have an associate's degree in that, but they want to get into the management side of it. Usually they're required to get a bachelor's degree. We're going to be able to get that, earn it right here at the college. We're going to take an area of the college, refer and brand it as our university center, where the universities work with us, and they're able to complete their bachelor's degree right here in a way that can help prepare them to be even more successful than we had hoped. So anyway, I wanted to share that with you. And Now, just a few quick highlights from my report. I'm sorry, Mrs. Stevenson, it's so long. I know it takes so much of your reading time, but I have said many times that until you tell me not to, I will give you more information than you need, so to keep you abreast of what's happening, because that's I told you from the beginning, transparency is important to me. So I am not going to go through the report piece by piece. You could do that. I try to hit the highlights of things that I've done during the days, but just a couple of things that I want to mention. I met with Thomas Bailey. Thomas Bailey represents ECMC. Now that acronym may not mean anything to you, but it is connected to the United States Department of Federal Financial Aid. Back in the mid last decade, Mesa Lands was selected because we were an HSI to participate in a program, and ECMC was the company that was assigned to work with us. Now, I've provided you additional information in the packet, but what the short answer is, they have money set aside for us to support our students in a number of ways. And the executive staff and I have been discussing this, and we intend to fully take advantage of it. They work with our students on their student loans to make sure that they're getting those paid. They do a lot of things. And in your handout, I believe it's attachment number 4, there are several pages that ECMC has their services broken down for us. And for example, one of the things that we'll be able to finally do is to set up a food bank for our students in our community. And there's money coming to us from the government to do that. So it's a way that we can support our students in very important ways. In July, I attended the Mountain States Community College Association annual meeting in Denver. This is for small rural community college presidents. This again led to a number of articulation agreements. So when we look at opportunities again for our students to be able to share programs, for example, we have a college in Utah and a college in Idaho, both interested in collaborating with us and developing programs where they will participate with our WIND programs. So they're very excited about that. And also looking at the structure that we've put together. I have to admit, when we established our structure in the matrix formation to drive success, access, and the management of our resources, this was something that I knew that we should do. What I was surprised is that I met I believe the Secretary of Education from the state of Colorado, and when she heard about the structure that we're doing in the implementation of equity across the board to improve success, she pulled me to the side and said, I want to get back in touch with you because I would like for you and Dr. Roundtree to join me in meeting with the governor of Colorado, because this is the model we want to use statewide in Colorado. So I thought, that's interesting. So I'm watching the mail. We'll see what happens. So this is a good thing. Just as another one of those marks of I'm proud to put Mesa Lands on the calendar, or on the map, I should say. I was selected along with a president in Wyoming and president in Colorado to design next year's annual conference. So this was a pretty big thing, especially for a freshman president to be asked to design the conference for the presidents. So I'm very proud of that. And I'm most especially proud that we, we're getting a lot of recognition, and that's all of the recognition leads to, always has positive returns for us as a college. So I'm really, really pleased with that. I've already mentioned a little bit that we have been working with some of these other colleges, things that are in the process. We've been working with the faculty leadership to develop a faculty ranking and promotion process. This is essential as we talk about the comprehensive compensation review that we'll be conducting this fall. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. Establishing a performance evaluation system for all employees, because the evaluation system at Mesa Lands has not been sufficient to give us insight into employee performance. We have begun, I got you some information. I shared with you a binder on developing the strategic planning process. This is something that's generally board driven, and they generally toss it to the president to sort of facilitate a lot of that. So you all will, of course, make the decision how you choose to do it, but that's sort of the classical way it's done. And so for that reason, I shared with you a couple of very valuable books that are the models for the best practices of strategic planning. Strategic planning is on the agenda for us to discuss or at least review at this meeting. And what I'm asking you to do as you look forward, it's time for us to discuss it. The strategic plan that we have in place is expired, and we need to begin looking at the next phase. And the books that you received in addition to your agenda this evening would serve as a lot of the basic tools that we would use to develop a strategic planning process. At least those are the ones that I would recommend to you as the board. Of course, this is your decision, and whatever process you choose, I'll certainly support you in any way possible. I have been working on the faculty compensation, as we've talked about. We've worked on a classification and compensation system for employees. Some of the employees are not classified properly, and we're trying to get that into alignment. One of the things that Mesa Lands has not done in the past that we are implementing is in the week when the faculty and staff return, which I believe is August 9th. If I'm not wrong, someone correct me from my team here, but I think it's August 9th. We will begin an in-service week. On Monday of in-service, we will be talking a lot about the matrix structure. We'll be talking about our goals and our vision. We'll be emphasizing the importance of student success and just what does that mean? What does student access? How does that mean? And why is it important that we manage our resources appropriately? So we'll be having a lot of talk about that. Kim Enriquez has agreed to do a section that day, a little in-service for faculty on online teaching. So she's going to go through that as really a highly experienced instructor to help faculty learn how to improve their online teaching. So there's a number of really great things happening on Monday. But Tuesday and Wednesday are the days I want to focus on. On Tuesday and Wednesday, I've asked a couple of people that I know very well to come in and be they're international speakers, and they'll be coming in to talk about how we implement the products that you've been hearing me talk about for the last couple of months, these various game changers. And I thought when I did this that faculty would be, they wouldn't be surprised, but I learned that it's not been something that they've done a lot in the past where they've had guest speakers come in. So this is very exciting. It absolutely aligns with what the Legislative Finance Committee in Higher Education is doing. They're trying to implement this statewide. So on that day, on the 10th, August the 10th, faculty and staff will be going through some pretty intensive training. Part of that training is on a program called Excelencia Education. And it is a unique program for HSIs to improve student success for Hispanic students. It takes generally 3 to 5 years to complete. But when you do and you complete it, you get this seal, like a good housekeeping seal, on the college. There are only 20 of them in the United States. They are coming to set us up so that we will be one of the premier HSIs in the United States. And this was going to be a big, big plus for us, as well as working with the other areas. I just want to mention as well that I want to invite the board to participate and visit those presentations. We'd love to have you. All of the presidents of the community colleges in New Mexico have been invited. Most of them are either coming themselves or they're sending a representative, as well as leadership from the Department of Higher Education, and as well as members of the legislature who are questioning about how all of this works. So Mesa Lands and Tucumcari is going to be a hot spot on the 10th and the 11th of August. So I'm real happy to do that, and I'm very excited to be the model for the rest of the state in leading student success in that regard. I want just to give you a heads up that the new website is going to roll out in the near future. We can get maybe more information from Josh or from Mr. Wickham about that, but I'm very excited to do that. It's outdated, and we recognize that it needs to be brought up to speed to be more competitive in today's world. One other thing that we haven't had at the college, which I've worked on in developing, is a professional development program. This is something I've been working with the faculty leadership on. This is very important because they had a tendency to sort of get into their jobs and just stay there and not pursue any professional development or learn anything new within their area. We are advocates for lifelong learning in all of us, and so therefore we want to encourage professional development, so that is happening as well. As part of that, I've developed 2 recognition programs that we will use across the college to reward and celebrate when great things are happening, and we've sort of started kicking that off as well. We've developed there's a group of people who are looking at reclassifications. In other words, it's primarily starting with the vice presidents to make sure that the people who are assigned in their areas are the people who are best placed into the jobs. We've sort of had a bad habit in the past that if a job comes open, we just take the next living body and we place it over there, and somehow they magically knew how to do every job at the college, and that wasn't the case. So we're reviewing that process. There is an Investiture Committee. You may recall back a couple of months ago, we talked about this. The investiture ceremony is one that's about 300 years old, but most importantly, it serves as a great way in which colleges support each other in helping raise funds to support the college. So most of these funds go into the foundation, and there would be an investiture ceremony is sort of like a graduation in that it's sort of a formal event, but then it's a great big party after that, and they pay for all kinds of stuff like plate dinners and all kinds of things. So that will be in October, and it will coincide with Rodeo Week, so that the presidents who come to this, which will come from all over the country, it's sort of a natural thing that they participate in. They will get an opportunity to see our rodeo team, and we'll be able to show off the college. The programs at the college will be able to do featured presentations so that we can take our destination programs and highlight them nationally. So this is another great opportunity for us. Let's see. We are working on the development of the implementation plan to spend the $1.2 million of the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. That has to be sort of finalized in the next 2 weeks. So the executive staff and I are working on that. And we have, I think, came up to a pretty good solution on how that money is going to have to be spent. There are what we thought was pretty free ends up actually having a lot of strings attached. So there's some things we can do and some things we cannot. So we'll work on that as we move forward. Last couple of things. Working with Mr. Morgan, next week, I believe, or August 2nd, I think it might be coming up, he is going to be working with members of the emergency response community. And I'm not sure if Homeland Security is still part of that or not, but we will be doing an emergency response training for the President's Cabinet and the people so that we are prepared before faculty and stuff, and the faculty and the staff return. So in the event that we're faced with an emergency, we have a clear and coherent plan in place to be able to respond to that. That is critically important. And actually, I believe our first priority is the safety of everyone on the campus. And the last couple of things I'll just simply say is that highlights for my report. I'll be visiting the correctional facilities. I just signed another MOU with them. We're now going to be working with 7 correctional facilities in the state of New Mexico, and this is going to be a good thing for us, considering that at least a third of our students are actually incarcerated. So we want to continue to work with that. And then the next phase will be something that I've talked to Dr. Roundtree to work with me on, and that is the rehabilitative phase that comes out where we can continue education beyond incarceration and be able to help reintegrate these folks into the workforce and help them move on with that. At student orientation, we will be holding another COVID vaccination clinic. We are in a predicament, and I will just be straight up with you on 2 things here. First of all, about 9 out of 10 18 to 24-year-olds in Quay County, 9 out of 10 18 to 24 years old, that's the age of population that we serve, are not vaccinated. So we're in a position that it's not so much how we're going to reopen that we need to be preparing for, but how we're going to respond to the super spreader event when it happens. So if we can't get these people vaccinated and we can't get better ways to control it, we will have another super spreader this fall. There's no way around it. When that 9 out of 10 people that you're communicating with is breathing and coughing in your face. So I have spoken with the executive staff today because early this morning, the White House released that a top aide in the Biden administration, as well as a top aide in the Pelosi office, have now acquired COVID a second time after being fully vaccinated. And the CDC is reporting that this may be the beginning of a third major wave, especially related around the Delta variant. This means that I have asked Josh to take the steps to redo the signs on our doors. The signs on our doors and the position we had taken was that masks were being suggested and social distancing was being suggested and recommended. It's going to change, I believe, that everybody, vaccinated or not, coming in the building will have to be masked, and will return back to social distancing. But I am not prepared to stop the college. We cannot afford to do that again. We can't have another year like we had last year. So we may try to instead try to implement these precautions ahead of time so that we can prevent that. I have spoken to some faculty and some of the coaches about this, and they simply cannot get the students to vaccinate. Their response to me is, if you try to vaccinate or require them to be vaccinated, they'll just simply go to a different school, period. There is no argument about it. They say the students will tell you straight to your face, I would rather get COVID than get vaccinated. And so we're just at a really difficult place, folks. I'm just being straight up with you on that. We have to increase the vaccination rate. So those are downers to end the meeting on, but I'm not going to end it there. I'll give you 2 more just for fun. I learned this week that I have been nominated to the Aspen Institute for New Presidents. as an outstanding new president. Not real sure how that's going to turn out, but that's pretty cool. And then I found out for the second year in the row that I was selected to be in the top 100 leaders of education globally. And I turned that award down because it conflicted. Receiving the award was going to conflict with the day that I needed to be at the college. And so I just said, forget it. We'll try again next year. So anyway, but I did want to tell you that things are going well. And despite some of the challenges that are out there, we have lots and lots and lots of great things happening. So the rest of the information is in your report. I have asked the vice presidents to design their reports that are attached to mine in a way that allows you to read them more easily. They're easily comparable, so you can see those as you go through the rest of the report. And that's all that I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. At that particular stage, then, I guess the next one would be Academic Affairs, Miss Natalie Gillard. And since she's not here, that throws the ball back in your court, Dr. Bush.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have spoken to Ms. Gillard just a moments ago, and I asked her, in addition to what she had, if she had anything in particular. She does not, so I have no report at this time. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome, sir. Moving on then, Dr. Kennedy. Who's going to fill in for Dr. Kennedy at this point?
Mr. McVeigh, Mr. Chairman, is going to address a couple of points from Dr. Kennedy's latest report.
Okay.
Yes, Dr. Kennedy prepared a report, and his is Exhibit 5. If you will turn your attention to Exhibit 5, there we have a demonstration of our enrollment over the last several years, and you can see what our enrollment head count is for spring of 2021. This is spring enrollment. And the credit hours are listed there that students have been taking and took in the spring of 2021. And so, and then the full-time equivalency as well for the final report there in Exhibit number 5.
Does anybody have any questions on that for Mr. McVeigh? Or any of us that we might be able to answer? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Josh. Now, moving on, looking at this, we've got a lot of work to do. We've sure got to get our numbers back up from where we were to where we are now. But anyway, that being said, we Student Success and Equity, Dr. Roundtree.
Oh, good evening, everyone. The item I'd like to focus on just very briefly is our non-discrimination statement, and I hope that you have that in front of you. We have conferred with our school attorney, and he has reviewed the proposed language, and we've also took an in-depth study of what other local colleges and universities have used as their non-discrimination statement. Just to back up just a little bit, this is a required statement for any institution that are recipients of federal funding. They do not mandate the specific language, but what they mandate is that each institution must have a non-discrimination statement. And the approach to it is to look at what's called protected classes, and that the protected classes are declared by law, and there are state law and federal law. And so that's why there's a few differences in each institution, because some institutions will just use state law, and some will use federal, and some will use a combination of the two. And then they can also add additional protected classes, so to speak, if that institution chooses to do so. And most do. It just depends on what's going on in their particular institution. So the languages are pretty standardized. Some that you will not have any leeway, and others you have some leeway. And so that's why the non-discrimination statement is pretty similar from institution to institution. So the one that I proposed is not a variant of most institutions of higher learning. And our attorney did review it. He made some edits, and all those edits are certainly we can live with them. But the important issue is that we have one and that it's placed in a prominent location so that if we are ever reviewed by the federal government, they will not, their whole objective is, I do not want to have to hunt for it. And that's not the right word, hunt, but that's the word I use, but they want to make it prevalent. And so if you just take a quick review of most institutions, the most standardized, non-threatening way to do it is just to put the word non-discrimination and put an underline under it as a link, and then elaborate on it as to the next link page. And that's the approach that Dr. Bush approved that we use. And it's a very, very good best practice.
Okay.
Dr. Roundtree, would you like to address the issue, the one point that you brought up regarding the word handicap versus disability that came from our attorney, please?
Oh, certainly. What I did find is the state uses the word handicap, and not most, but every single institution of higher learning, they use the word disability. I went to the federal government's primary source, and that is the best way to do it, is to go to the highest authority, and that's the Equal Opportunity Commission, and they use the word disability. And so it's just a matter of a term of art. They both mean the same thing. They are protected under the American with Disabilities Act. So the act has the word disabilities in it. And that's why most institutions and all institutions of higher learning in the state of New Mexico, because I went to every single website, they use the word physical or mental disability. So handicap and disability are synonymous. They mean the exact same thing, but it's called Miro. I mirrored our non-discrimination statement after the federal government, and they clearly and explicitly say we are physical and mental disability are protected classes. So that's the only reason I chose the word disability versus handicap. And I think the matter is the state just has not caught up. So the state is still using the word handicap, which is a legal term, but the more contemporary term that's used by every single institution of higher learning in the state of New Mexico, they will use physical or mental disability.
Okay. Dr. Bush, should not this be an action item and be voted on?
Yes, sir, it should be. It needs to be voted on because as Dr. Roundtree has pointed out, it must be prominently displayed. We have worked with Mr. McVeigh and Mr. Wickham to get us a sort of a Band-Aid through till this meeting to get this approved. So I would ask the board this evening to make a determination between the word handicapped and disability, and I would urge the board to pass this so that we can be in federal compliance.
Well, I believe our hands are tied because we didn't make this an action item on this agenda. We're not going to be able to bring this thing up and vote on it tonight. What we will have to do is bring this up at our next meeting and make it an action item and vote on it then. And we can make that determination on disability. As far as that goes, we really can't vote on anything tonight on this particular item because we didn't make it an action item. I'm pretty sure that's correct, Margaret. Isn't that right?
It is. It is right.
So let's be sure we have this on the next meeting.
Yes, sir. I will.
I apologize. I thought this was on an action item this evening, but I'll double check that.
No, it's not anywhere here.
It was a discussion.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Not a problem.
But anyway, let's make sure we have it on the next agenda and we bring it up then, and we can vote on the disability handicap at the same time, and we can cover this and get it passed because yes, we need to get this passed. It's no different than some of the other statements that we have to take action on an annual basis.
That's right, sir. We'll take care of it.
Yes, sir.
That case then, Dr. Roundtree, thank you very much, ma'am.
You're very welcome.
Let's move forward with Mr. Morgan.
Yes, I'd like to highlight only a couple of areas out of my report, which is in writing and attached to your agenda. I'd like to highlight that Larry Wickham spent an inordinate amount of time, especially over a weekend, correcting problems that were developed with Genzabar. We discovered that 2019-2020 year had not been closed, and once we passed the July 1 date, we then had 2 years open, which is the maximum amount. So then we couldn't open up the new year because we would have had 3. So that's not allowed. We had to go into a crisis mode. And like I said, Larry and Tammy spent Saturday down here trying to figure out how to close 2019-2020. We did, in fact, figure that out, and you did, in fact, close it. Tammy then proceeded to open up and then trial some 21-22 requisitions, and they were, in fact, opened and approved, so that was good. We met the 12th of the month due date to actually open requisitions. We met that, so that's good. A couple of items that have come up since this report was printed that I'd like to present to the board. First one is I got a call from an old Field Corps trainee who was here, and he's the gentleman who got us our nacelle in the shop. Of course, we had to pay to get it here, but he's the one that got it offered to us for our possession. Of course, we jumped on it. He is now offering us a hub to go on our nacelle. It is in, what's the name of the wind farm? Minco Wind Farm in Oklahoma, which is, I think, just this way from Oklahoma City. They are going to set it on the ground and leave it for us, probably in a couple of months. And boy, do I want to go get it. I don't know how much it'll cost, but it won't be near as much as the nacelle was. What will it do for us? Well, we will be able to mount it to our nacelle. We will probably knowing that we're ingenious, we will figure out a way to then motorize the hub so we can turn it. We will then develop the software we need to actually pitch the blades. He's going to have his group one cut off the blade so they'll be stub blades, maybe a foot and a half long, but we can see them actually pitch like they always do when they try to maximize the energy that they take from the wind. That's going to be an enormous improvement to our shop area wind turbine training program. It is just, it's interesting to believe that we will have in the shop a way to train students how to make hub entries. One of the most dangerous things they do is they climb on top of the nacelle through a hatch. They shimmy out on top of the hub. They use their heel to kick open the hatch. And now we're looking at the slope of the hub, and there's the ground. And they then slide into the hub to make the hub entry in order to do about 1,000 different repair things as well as preventative maintenance. They will be able to do that in the shop, which is going to be able to train them in one of the most dangerous evolutions they go through. So that's very a plus for the wind program. The other thing that came up in the activity is we have signed on as a participant in a Department of Energy grant. We are signed on with New Mexico State University and with NREL, the National Renewable Energy Lab up in Colorado, on a grant that has to do with reuse and recycling of wind turbine blades. Right now, wind turbine blades are pretty much just put in the trash out into the ground. And there's a lot of regulatory agencies that are getting upset about that. And they're talking about passing some rules about what you can and can't do with wind turbine blades once they're no longer used. Try to get ahead of that. This grant will help us try to figure out, is the blade getting close to needing to be replaced? They'll tell that by looking at the microstructure to see if there's any broken fibers or carbon fibers. The other thing they will do is they will try to develop ways to reuse the turbine blade in a different manner. Couple of things I've heard are grind them up and use them for part of the usage of pavement on roads and concrete in buildings, kind of like rocks. fillers, if you will. Our obligation for that is Project Advisory Board, which is quarterly meetings over 2 years here on campus. Use of college facilities for meetings and or existing prospective industry collaborators. Go to use our wind turbine facility, conference rooms, testing equipment, data collection and wind turbine, staff time for data collection. That we may not be collecting the data, but somebody has to shut down the turbine, and that's only our qualified operators that are allowed to do that or start up the turbine after that. And staff time for consultation with a research team. I thought that was significant. One little detail that came up, I think this week, whenever they went to look at the Genzabar update, which you will get an email about all of that, all of the things that are going to go on another weekend coming up that Larry has to work. They found that in order to make that conversion, there's about 1,000 Genzabar items which must be cleared and identified and set aside. About 50 of them had to be set aside and then put back because the new update in Genzabar will not allow us to do the conversion unless we correct these problems. So there's been 1,000 of them that have been corrected this week. They are now done. So we'll be safe to go ahead whenever we get ready to do this Genzabar update. And that's all I have. Questions?
Okay. That's not quite all you've got. You've got exhibits 7 through 13. You've got action on them.
Yes, sir. I don't. Let me get that out here. I know Margaret sent it to me.
Yes, sir. It'll be towards the end of your book.
Yeah. I apologize.
Yeah.
It's not a problem, Jim.
I'm still looking for her email.
Yeah.
Here it is. Is it in?
It'll be the third PDF
Okay.
towards the end of it.
Okay. You don't happen to have a page, do you?
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Starts at exhibit 7 and no,
It does.
it's page 1 of 2. And I don't know what that would be in that.
Yeah, I don't.
It's requisitions, correct?
Yes,
It is
sir.
requisitions.
Well, Jim, I've got them laid out here. Let me just run through them right quick. We got Tillman Enterprises. This would be the looks like the monthly lease on the Stampede Village.
I just found them, by the way, but go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
7 through 13 purchase requisitions. Tillman is the full. Wow. Would you go ahead, sir? I'm having trouble with my computer, I think.
Okay. Looks like this is the full year from, I'm trying to see exactly what the date on the lease is, but this is from September through August of 2022, I believe. Yes. And that would be for $74,250. That's exhibit 7. Exhibit 8 is the utilities. And this would be from September of 21 all the way through August of 2022. This is for $71,500. That's exhibit 8. Exhibit 9. This would be the city of Tucumcari. And let me go back to exhibit 8. That's for XL Energy. Exhibit 9 is the city of Tucumcari. This would be our water and waste and such. This was $22,000. Next one is the Mexico Gas Company. Again, it's a year's contract, and this is for $22,000. Plateau Wireless. I'm assuming this, Jim, is this our internet?
Yes, it is.
And what else? Since it's wireless.
The campus wireless and the Stampede wireless both we pay for.
Okay. And that again is going to run about $22,000. That would be exhibit 11. Exhibit 12 This would be for Rikon,
It's for,
America's Corporation. This is our copiers and printers that we have across the campus.
Yes, sir.
This lease is for $25,666.63. Exhibit 12. And last but not least, property and insurance, Exhibit 13. This one is $168,813. That's across the campus. Okay. I need a motion to approve that. Expenditures. So do we have a motion?
Teresa Stevenson, so moved.
Okay, and a second.
Liz Estrada, second.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Yes. Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
Mr. Streetman,
Yes.
Miss Estrada,
Yes.
Miss Stevenson,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay. That being said, we've got an executive session on the agenda, and this has to do with limited personnel matters allowed by New Mexico SA 1978, and this the sections and so forth. So do we have a motion to go into executive session per what's listed on our agenda?
Liz
This is
Estrada,
Tom.
so move.
This is
Motion,
Tom, I
please.
second.
Okay. Liz, you're going to make the motion. Tom, you're going to make the second. Is that not correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
I had a question. Did I miss Josh's report, or did he?
He gave it a while ago.
He gave Mr. Kennedy.
He gave Dr. Kennedy's report.
Oh, okay. They were together. Okay. Yes.
Well, now, okay. Yeah, he gave Dr. Kennedy's report. That's the only one that I see on the agenda.
Josh was not on the agenda.
Yeah.
Okay. I just saw the. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, we got a motion. We've got a second to go into executive session. Roll call.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
Mr. Streetman,
Yes.
Miss Estrada,
Yes.
Miss Stevenson,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay. Dr. Bush, who all do we need to keep on here beside the board?
Mr. Chairman, at this point in time, nobody other than nobody. Other than
Okay.
myself.
So I guess we need to keep Dr. Bush and the Board of Trustees. This process that your item exhibit 14 you've got on here, is that something that needs to be voted on also?
It was, but it won't be able to be voted on because it needs to be moved to an action item. So
That's right. So,
go ahead. I mean, they all fell under the same auspices, so we'll just kick them all down kick those cans down to the next one.
so we get 14, 15, and 6.
Yeah.
Okay, we're there's Dr. Roundtree. Okay, we're getting our streaming back up, Larry.
Stream looks good.
Okay. We're up and we seem to be streaming, so let's reconvene from executive session. Do I have a motion, please?
I make a motion that we reconvene from the executive session.
Okay, and a second?
Teresa Stevenson, second.
Okay. And roll call.
Mr. Streetman,
Yes.
Ms. Estrada,
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay. Let the minutes show that there's no action to be taken on anything based on the executive session, and we'll truck right on to new business. Dr. Bush, you're up, sir. You're muted, sir. It's been a long day.
It has been a long day. With the knowledge that the two propositions that I have here are written, I'm going to leave them for review and ask that they be moved to action items at the next meeting, please.
Yes. On the agenda for August, and they need to be action items, please, Margaret. Okay. Correspondence. I don't see any correspondence in here. Yes, there is. Well, the correspondence is in the back of the book, along with the. No, there is no correspondence. We do have our yearly calendar, and Exhibit 17 is the annual calendar of reports. And probably those events that we're talking about approving here, at least that one on discrimination, is going to have to be added to this annual calendar of reports. It'll have to be reviewed on an annual basis. That being said, folks, our next board meeting, it looks like fall classes will begin August the 16th. I believe our next board meeting will be August the 17th. And unless anybody has anything else at this point, I'll go right down the line. Dr. Bush.
Nothing, sir, except as we look at the calendar for the following year, I would just propose that we talk a little bit further about that and delay the start of the spring semester 1 week. This will give the college an opportunity to participate in Cinco de Mayo so it doesn't conflict with graduation. But that's just a heads up. We'll discuss it further down the road.
Okay. Very good. Liz?
Nothing.
Okay, Tom?
No, sir. I have nothing.
Okay, Teresa?
Nothing.
Okay, Larry, you're next in line.
Nothing.
Josh?
I don't have anything. No.
Jim?
No.
Margaret?
No, sir.
Dr. Roundtree?